Time has come. I always say that I'm excited for these things, but we've been working on this one for a while, and Rachel is in the house. Welcome to the show.
Woo! Thank you for having me, Brett.
Awesome. I know who you are. Let's tell the listeners just a little bit about who you are. Maybe what's your medical background?
Yeah.
Before we start talking about real estate, what's your medical background? Where'd you start and where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I started my journey really as a doctor of pharmacy. So that is the background that I have, but it was not a straight path at all. I was born in Haiti, little girl from there, raised in the inner city of Miami. I just really had a deep sense of responsibility, of faith, of work ethic. That's what I inherited was work ethic. I did not inherit money.
Yeah.
I wish I inherited money, but nevertheless, right? I saw just the sacrifices of my parents to work hard. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to take this in vain. So went on, got the doctorate of pharmacy. But the reality of it was between my husband and I, that came with a hefty amount of student loan debt to the tune of $500,000 in student loans. And so I burnt the candle at both ends. My husband and I working about 5 jobs between the two of us at one point. And it's not recommended, like 1 star, not recommended. But I stumbled upon real estate investing, started to consume a copious amount of podcast interviews and got to understand what real estate investing looked like. And so fast forward to today, my husband's retired from psychotherapy. I'm retired from pharmacy at the moment.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's really where we started.
Tell us a little bit about where you took action from those podcasts. What part of real estate was it? Did you start in short term? Did you do long term commercial? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so the journey started with really getting laser focused on what my finances look like, right? So I don't purport to be a financial analyst or financial advisor, but I needed to get my finances under wraps in order to navigate that $500,000 in student loan debt right after graduation. The debt did feel like a life sentence. I gotta say, it sure did. And so once I was able to get that under wraps and I started to have these small wins, I felt like I was unstoppable. And I evaluated my life from that vantage point, and I asked myself, what else is possible? What can be possible? At the moment, I wasn't completely out of debt, but we're just making some great progress. And so I took that hunger for that financial literacy knowledge into a hunger into underwriting, into evaluating real estate. And so from that perspective, I remember reading a book where I saw the breakdown of what it would cost to say to repair a variety of mechanical issues in a property. And believe it or not, that was the light bulb that went off to help me to take action. I believe a lot of us starting out, we have the belief systems that were placed inside of us from, say, our upbringing. So I could hear my dad in the back of my mind saying, well, if the HVAC isn't working, don't buy the house. If the roof is dilapidated, don't purchase the house. If there are electrical issues, don't buy the house. And so what was ingrained in me, whether I liked it or not, it was that these are insurmountable repairs that the cost of which could be like astronomical. But I read in a book, I'm a spreadsheet girl through and through, Brett. So I read it in the book, there was a spreadsheet, a table. HVAC costs this amount, this amount, roofs cost this amount, and so on and so forth. Plumbing costs this amount. I was like, oh, okay. Within a month, we purchased our first property after I had been in analysis paralysis for 2 years. So the two metrics that I looked for in those deals was a cash flow. I wanted to see at least a $2,000 per month cash flow, and my cash on cash return, I wanted a 30% cash on cash return. So cash flow, it's that money that you make at the end of the month when all the bills are paid, what's left over to you. And so, for example, if your mortgage, your insurance, your electrical bill, all of your utility comes out to $3,000 per month, and you pay that, and you're making $5,000 per month gross. That is your payouts from your guests that are staying at your properties. You take that $5,000 minus the $3,000, and that's $2,000 in cash flow for that month. So for me, that was a huge win. And so those were the types of deals I was looking to back into, but we did considerably better. That's how we ended up on Netflix, and we can talk about that in a moment. But that was my starting off point. The cash on cash return, that calculation determines, well, how fast can I reinvest my capital, because I'm getting it back as quickly as possible. And so one thing that really fuels the cash on cash return is leveraging tax strategy like a cost segregation study, because there's legislation right now that allows us to get 60% back on all the cash that we invest within that first year if we are able to put that property in service that year. So I'm not going to get into the tax side of things. That's not my expertise. That's why I hire real estate friendly tax strategists to make sure that we map that out for the year to know how many short-term and midterm rentals that we should be aiming for. But I anticipate a 30%, but sometimes we're able to get 80 or 90% of our cash back because of a variety of tax strategies that we take advantage of.
Yes. But you're not getting this if you're inside the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac box.
Correct. So what I like about the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac versus the DSCR loans, I like both of them. The Fannie Mae Freddie Mac is a great way to get started because some of our community members, they don't have the upfront cash to go out and put a 20% down, 25% down, 30% down on that first deal. So I encourage getting it, where you are. If you do have it, yes, the DSCR is a great place to start for sure, because the DSCR loan does not typically count against your debt to income ratio, which is pretty cool.
The Fannie Mae, Freddie especially if you're stacking 18 of these things up, huh?
Yeah. So you can do 10 Fannie Mae Freddie Macs, but by the time you get to the fifth one, you're shot because your debt to income ratio is impacted. And that's where I tell my community members, go ahead and put it in a portfolio loan to open up the opportunity for, another set if you're able to float that. But the DSCR, I think, tag teaming it, Fannie Mae DSCR is one of the most effective ways to continue to grow and scale. But the beauty of it, Brett, is we operate our businesses with the highest level of, I would say, a luxury feel, and part of luxury has to do with the communication. So I truly believe less is more. We have door envy. We hear people say, I have 100 doors here and there, but that's not really appealing to me or the members of my community. They're wanting the quality over the quantity. So I'm all about quality over quantity. These are spaces and homes that we ourselves would want to visit. And so we're really strategic and intentional about the profitability as well as the guest experience that we're wanting to put out there.
This brings me to the question of location. Where in the world, whether it's 5% or 10% on this $2,000 a month cash flow, which is crazy, 5% versus 10%, that changes from 200 to 400,000 in this hypothetical scenario. So where are these locations? I know you told me about this website that you have, the 75gems.com, that talks about this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the locations honestly are in a lot of places that you would not necessarily think about all throughout the United States. So for me, I actually walk through a methodology called the 𝗏𝗀 method. Sometimes the location may be in your own backyard. Sometimes it's not, okay? Don't come for me, California. But sometimes it may be in your own backyard. And so we go through a methodology I call 𝗏𝗀, C-R-O-W. C stands for connected. Is there a location that you have a connection with? Is it your own backyard? We're going to test all of these locations out, okay? So C stands for connected. Is there a location maybe you visited in the past, somewhere that you've always thought in the back of your mind, you know what? I would love to open up a short-term or mid-term rental in this market, right? Sometimes we go on a vacation, we stay at an Airbnb, and we're like, wow, I think I can do this. I think I can do even a better job than the host. There's 3 forks and there's 11 of us, right? So start thinking about those locations, unedited, just jot them all down. From there, R stands for recommended by professionals. So what are you hearing? What's the buzz in terms of locations that are out there that people are saying are really good locations? I've received intel from realtors, property managers, my cleaners have intel, a title company folks, closing attorneys, right? So they have some intel. And so whatever you're hearing, if you've had a conversation or if you're hearing word on the street from those professionals, go ahead and jot those down. From there, O stands for on trend. What is on trend? And there are blogs that are published every year. Here are the top cities that are generating XYZ amount of revenue. Jot some of those cities down that kind of resonate with you. I'm on the East Coast, so I like the Southeast, I like beaches, so I would jot some of those down. And finally, W, word of mouth. If you're in the wealth systems community or whatever community you're in, word of mouth from your masterminds, word of mouth from other investors, other physicians, others that are speaking, other pharmacists that are speaking about specific locations that they love, that's generating great revenue, jot all of those down. And from there, we're going to do a little digging, right? We're going to do the same type of digging that the lenders are looking for the DSCR loans. They use a tool called AirDNA. And so I love that tool. I go in there. I do have to do a little bit of cleanup inside of AirDNA, but I'm looking for a couple of metrics, just like 2 or 3 metrics. Number one, I want to see the occupancy rate. And for me on AirDNA, you can do the free version. I'm looking for occupancy that is 50%. Okay, so that's my first filtering system. So if any of those cities or states have occupancy that is less than 50%, I just nix them or remove them from my list, because 50% indicates overall this is a market that people are visiting.